Hello and welcome to this POCACITO webinar. My name is Max Grünig from the Ecologic Institute. POCACITO is short for Post-Carbon Cities of Tomorrow. It's a project supported by the European Commission, and our focus is this year on the circular economy. I'm very excited to have here with us for this webinar Jordi Oliver-Solà from Barcelona. And while he's an outspoken expert for the circular economy, we've met him already before. In 2016, he was on a POCACITO trip to the United States, to Las Vegas, Denver, and Houston, and toured with us there, focusing on one aspect, one might say, of the circular economy, on water primarily, but it was not the focus back then, was not so much on the circular economy. So this is really interesting. Jordi is in Barcelona. He's an academic. He works for the university there, but he also is a co-founder of inèdit Innova, Center for Innovation focusing on the circular economy. So really spot on, one of the most advanced thinkers in Europe in terms of circular economy in practice, and at the same time also somebody who knows the academic backgrounds for it. So I'm really glad to have you here again. I'm really happy that we can stay connected throughout the years. And I really hope that we can get you back to the United States sometime soon as well. For those of you who are maybe joining from other places in the world, dialing in, you will have an opportunity if you want to ask questions later on. But of course, if you view this as a recording, then your only opportunity is to contact Jordi or us via email or on social media. And I will be happy to answer any questions there then later. So with that being said, I want to first give over to Jordi. Jordi, welcome the opportunity to introduce yourself a little bit more and to explain your background maybe a little bit better than what I did. And then you have a great project, a core project to present here today. We can already see it on the screen. It's related to the tour bus we can see there, and it says Headphones Second Life. So this is actually really interesting in terms of providing some inspiration that is possible to be applied anywhere where we have tourism happening, and that's in most major cities nowadays on both sides of the Atlantic. So Jordi, I talked already too much. I'll be quiet now and let you do the talking, but later I'll come back for the conversation and we'll have some back and forth.
Okay, thank you very much, Max. It's my pleasure. And it's not a topic. It's really a pleasure to share with you, with the Ecologic Institute, with POCACITO project, bit of our work here in Barcelona. And I really hope also to be in touch with you in the future, here or in the US, of course. What I'm going to explain is an ongoing project that we're doing in Barcelona that is not rocket science. It's something that targets an opportunity, an inefficiency of the system, and we do it through the circular economy. That means that it's being conservative in the use of resources and creating social jobs. As you may see in the screen, there's the tourist bus in Barcelona. And this project starts, the story of this project starts in the tourist bus of Barcelona, and you will see it later. The two institutions that are behind this project are the Rubricatus Foundation. It is a social organization that works with people with mental disabilities, but not as a charity, but providing social jobs, real jobs, such as postal service or handmade products, or gardening or in the maintenance of urban furniture, for instance. And we at inèdit, as Max introduced, we are an eco-innovation studio. We were born at the university 10 years ago, and now we are a team of about 20 people working only in circular economy projects, which means that we use metrics for quantifying, for instance, carbon emissions or water consumption, which provides us quantitative data for taking decisions and improving the design of products, processes, or systems. At the same time, we work also introducing sustainability in the business models of companies or in the strategies of corporations in order to make them more competitive in the market. This project, as I said, started as an opportunity that was detected by the Rubricatus Foundation. One day, one of the managers had some visits at home with some family from abroad that came to Barcelona, and they went to the tourist bus. And what they saw was very surprising. What they saw was this. This is a tourist bus stop, and as you may see, there are hundreds or thousands of headphones thrown in the bus stop. And this is very dirty. This is a shame for the city, but at the same time, it calls the attention because there might be other ways of using headphones. What happens here is that with every people or every person that get into the bus with a ticket, they receive a set of headphones. For free. It's included with the ticket in order to listen all the audios about the explanations about the city of the tour. But one headphone is fine, but at the end of the year, only this company, the tourist bus, the official tour, only this company delivers 2 million headphones. 2 million headphones that are used during few hours, at most a couple of days. And after that, some of them are kept by the people, by the visitors for other uses, but many end up as waste. Of course, here there's an opportunity because the 2 million headphones also have a cost, an economic cost for the company that is buying those appliances that last for few hours only. And then is a waste that is an electronic waste that has to be managed properly, and is also a source of valuable resources of as copper, for instance. What we've designed with the Rubricatus Foundation, we together define a project to recover those headphones, clean them and reuse them. And this is in the framework of the circular economy. I don't know how familiar you are with the concept of the circular economy, but maybe it's more easy to define if we compare it with the linear economy. That is the economy that we know of buy and throw. We buy goods, we use them and throw them as waste. In a linear process, we extract raw materials from the nature, we use the products or services for a while, for a longer or shorter period, but at the end they become waste. The circular economy aims at eliminating the concept of waste. In a circular economy, waste does not exist. All are resources that are valuable and that might be reused, recycled, or given another life in their current shape or or recycled, recovering the materials. In short, is this. So how can we keep the value of materials and resources that are present, that are currently in our economy, doing a function, doing closed loops in the future, and generating value, so generating profits as well. There are many examples, and maybe another day we can see more examples of circular economy strategies in companies. But today we'll see this example of this project with the Regatas Foundation, where you can see on the top the lineal process that is being used. So there's a producer in China that produces millions of headphones, very low cost headphones that are used for hours, few hours, and then become waste. What we propose is to recover those headphones at the end of the day or the end of the use from the user, collect them, sanitize, hygienize them, repack and resell at the same cost as brand new headphones from China. For doing that, we're doing a pilot. We're now working with the bus company, and what we have done is to install a headphones recycling bucket, as the one you can see in the picture, and we recorded a message that is emitted through the loudspeakers, asking the people to return their headphones at the end of the day or at the end of the service when they won't use them anymore. So we are collecting the headphones. It is, of course, this is a small part, but we are now quantifying which percentage can we recover. Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 20%. We don't expect to collect more than that with just a message and a bucket, but it's fine. If it's 10%, that would be 200,000 headphones per year, which is not bad for a start. Once we collect them, we have a problem, and you may be aware that when you have headphones in your bag, then it all becomes a mess. It's a big knot. So here we have knots with hundreds or thousands of headphones, which is truly a nightmare to solve. But this is not bad for our partner in this project, the Regatas Foundation, that has to employ people with with mental disabilities, and that have good skills for handwork, and they are patient, and they are separating and undoing this big knot, and as you can see in the picture, so recovering one by one the headphones, rolling them, and preparing them for the next step, that is the sanitation. One thing that was worrying for us, of course, and for the company, in order to allow the reuse of the headphones, was the hygiene. So can we make them clean again? This was a serious doubt that we had, and also a barrier of perception. Would I use headphones that had been used by another person before? So we had to be sure that the reused headphones were clean, and also to reduce this perception barrier that could appear. For this, we did several studies in the lab, testing different methods. Just as an example, before we started the project, as this was worrying for the foundation, what they did was to put the headphones on a dishwasher, and it worked really. And and after being washed with water, the headphones kept working. But of course, this is not the best suitable system. So we proposed them to work with ultraviolet and ozone systems. They both are fine. They both work. But we finally chose the ozone sanitation system after testing 150 samples with different concentrations, parameters, etc. After folding the headphones in many different ways to make sure that in any position, any folding, this could be cleaned. We reached that after 20 minutes in ozone, all the headphones were suitable for their reuse. So they are as clean as if they were new. And we also chose this technology because it's easy. You just need electricity and you can create ozone. So it's very easy. It's very low technology, very cheap, and even in the foundation they were able to build this cupboard. This is just for the pilot. Once we start cleaning or recovering hundreds of thousands of headphones, we will have to upgrade. But for the pilot, we're using this cupboard you can see in the picture, where there is a source of ozone that is plugged into the electricity grid, and we are cleaning here the headphones with ozone. And once they are being sanitized, they are repacked and resold. The next steps are clear. The next steps are to scale this. We are now working kind of lab or pre-industrial scale. We need to scale this to an industrial scale and assess the costs, because this will be competitive as far as it's at least as expensive as a new set of headphones. So it's a low cost, but we think we can make it. And another issue here is widening the market, because there are other operators, other tourist bus operators that have exactly the same problem of using single-use headphones, that they have to pay for that, and they are generating an impact and waste and littering in the city, but also in the train, high-speed train, or even airlines that offer headphones. So there's a potential very large market for offering the services of this project that creates social jobs, that reuses valuable resources and reduces the amount of waste generated. So it aligns the interests of the environment, of the society, and the companies, no? and the economy. And this is, in short, what the circular economy is about. So aligning the interest of the planet, of the people, and the economy. As I said before, this is just an example. There are many others, but I thought that it's quite clear that from a problem we can build an opportunity. And the next steps, just to be finishing, the next steps with this project, as I said, was the scaling the industrial, seeing how feasible it is to make an industrial work in industrial scale, finding new clients, but also new business models. We think that it's old-fashioned way of doing things, buying 2 million of headphones per year and just delivering them and losing them, basically. That could be more smart or smarter to have a limited stock of headphones, making sure that they are recovered and reused. So maybe instead of using 2 million, sorry, instead of using 2 million headphones per year, maybe with a stock of 200,000 that is being reused, and reused, we can provide the same service. Thus, saving costs, again, generating local jobs and reducing the amount of waste. So by now, we're just testing the project, but we see a huge potential of this kind of services and these kind of projects. So I wish that you found this example interesting. We are very open now for questions regarding this project or circular economy as a topic, or if you want to know more about projects or what's going on in Barcelona at this time, I'm very open to receive your questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordi. And yes, as you said, so if you do have a question, you can raise your hand and actually then we can unmute your microphone. But of course, I have the advantage, I'm already unmuted. So I can just start, but I have a lot of questions, so I'll also stop. If then others want to ask questions, I'll let them go ahead. One thing first, I mean, have you heard any feedback from the users of the recycled headphones? Has anybody had any reservations? Do they think, oh, I would like a new one better, or oh, I would like the recycled one better? Have you heard any such thing?
Well, yeah, it's a good question because it's really a barrier. What the bus company decided to do was to not to communicate anything about this. Just delivering the headphones, and they look like new ones. So there's no way to differentiate them, and so final users, don't know whether the headphone is new or reused.
Okay.
Yeah. So as they have the same quality, they don't say anything to them, to the final client.
Do you think it's a time at some point that it's good to communicate this, to tell people, hey, you're actually doing something good for the environment? This is not going to be thrown away?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, because it will engage people in recovering in this project. But I think in general, one of the largest or biggest burdens of the circular economy is recovering the products at the end of their life cycle. And in here, it's not enough having a bucket, having a message. Is not enough. The percentage of people that returns the headphones is low, but the same happens with voluntary systems for plastic bottles, for instance. No, in the countries like in Spain, where the system is voluntary, you cannot expect to have more than 30-40% of people that recycles or that returns products. You have to put a fee, for instance, or like happens in Germany with packaging, where you have a fee, deposit scheme, and then yes, you guarantee that 99% of people will return the product at the end of their use. So yes, going back to your question, I think that we need to treat people as adults and explaining what's behind the system, and explaining the problems we have with the lineal economy and the benefits of the circular economy. And if I realize that I'm contributing to reduce the amount of waste that is being generated, that is nonsense, generating 2 million headphones per year as waste. I mean, it's really nonsense. Then yes, I might be willing to contribute to this good practice. Yes, but still, a deposit scheme is the best way. So just give €1, and then once you return it, the euro will be back. Then you guarantee that the recovery would be very, very, very good. But this, of course, it requires some logistics, having more people maybe, or well, it's more complex. So this is not in the project now, because we have to be more realistic with the current possibilities. But the options, the future options are great, are huge.
And it's already a lot. I mean, you say it's only 10%, but it's still 200,000 headphones. And certainly also still options of making it easier, maybe with the entangling. But it sounds, I mean, it looks very, very challenging. Yeah. I mean, I hope you said they're very patient people, but this is certainly very challenging, especially if you scale up. Yeah. If you go to 2 million, it's a lot of headphones, a lot of disentangling. I do think, however, it's huge. I mean, you mentioned the market. It's not only Barcelona, it's everywhere. We have the tour buses everywhere. Not only there, also in other places, people have throwaway headphones. People have that in like on airplanes, they have throwaway headphones everywhere. And I think it's huge to recycle, especially because they're actually small electronics, right? So it's not just plastic.
Yes. Exactly.
So I really hope. Have you heard already from other cities or other countries who are interested in replicating this?
Not in this context, but in other contexts, there are different practices. For instance, in museums, it's very common to have also headphones with the audio guide that are being reused, and it's the normal practice. But then there's the foam is so removed and cleaned. But this is, of course, these are more expensive headphones. We're talking about few cents of cost in the current system, and if the bus company has to buy the headphones, they are looking for the lowest cost. This is a problem of the world model. So if I have to throw away lots of millions of headphones, then I would buy the cheapest. But if you change the mentality and you think, no, I have my own stock of headphones that are reused, that will be reused, then maybe you can spend more for more durable, resistant models. And then you just have to clean or remove the foams, and it's fine, and it's done in the museums, as I said. But it's we require in this moment a change of mentality. If it's throw away, then it's the cheapest, and it's a vicious circle. As it's the cheapest, then you cannot think about reusing them because it will break, etc. It's low quality, and you're stuck in the linear economy. But what we are saying to the bus company is the following: saying, look, why instead of buying because they buy every 2 years, they buy 4 million, and they have it's a huge expenditure of money. It's about $500,000 they spend. So why don't, instead of spending this amount of money on throwaway headphones, you just contract, or yes, you just have a contract with the foundation, Ricardo's foundation, that you pay them this amount, and they will buy higher quality headphones, easier to recover, easier to clean, and maybe you can make local business from that, and instead of buying low quality products from Asia. But then you crash directly with the strict buying system or of the public administration, which they have to do things in a certain way. But I think that slowly showing evidence and showing more and more evidence, we will make change evolve and maybe be more rational, more profitable, and overall, I think this is an opportunity to create local jobs and preserve resources.
Yes, and what struck me really was that you said you can actually offer this at the same price as the new headphones.
This is
So this,
a requirement, yeah.
and that's already very good. I mean, it's a good start. Of course, that doesn't mean they save money, but at least they don't lose money. I mean, the bus company. Now, the headphones that you have there, these green or turquoise headphones, are these the cheapest that you can get, or is this already a better quality product in your case?
No, this is the cheapest. I mean, this is it's very low quality. I mean, we've all used this kind of headphones that after 1 hour your ear is red and hurts. It's very low quality, but still they can be reused. Yeah,
Do you know how? Sorry.
No,
How
sorry.
often can they be reused? Is there an already experience? How many times? How many cycles you think?
We still don't know that. We are just in the pilot, but this is something we have to answer. What all the headphones before being repacked are checked, and so we don't have the traceability. So we don't know whether a headphone has been reused 3, 4, 5 times because right now we don't have any system to trace them. But if any of them don't work, then they are not packed and resold again, of course. Yeah.
Was it very difficult to get the bus company on board? Were they hesitant in the beginning, or were they excited right away?
It has been changed. It has changed. They had a problem. They were on the media. They had very bad image, and they were aware of this problem. So they have to clean the bus stops every week. Because if not, there's a mountain of headphones there because people have fun just throwing them there. So this was a problem. So when the first time we approached, they were very happy. They were very collaborative and very keen on doing things easier with us. We started the pilot, but now that comes to the moment to implement real changes. I think it's normal. It's not that they are not collaborating, but maybe they're not as excited. So making change in a large organization is always difficult. So we are now at this point, no? Implementing changes after the pilot. So the pilot was fine, but now that comes the moment to implement this. Things are slower, but not stopped yet. But anyhow, there are other operators, so and the opportunity is there. The system has been checked. So yeah, if one company do not want to collaborate, we'll find another. Yeah.
Great. And of course, it makes sense that you start in Barcelona and that you start with one pilot. And obviously, the idea can be replicated, but I do think that you should really reach out because there's so much potential for this. In nowadays, you have the tour buses with these pre-recorded audio system on almost in every city, in every larger city, and of course, apart from, I mean, you can also talk about the diesel exhaust from the buses. That's another issue. But the headphones, I have to admit, though, I haven't seen that as as you've shown on the photos with the amount of headphones piled on the roof. That's really, really, of course, something visible. And of course, you said they were under pressure to act. So that's great too, if people have a motivation to take action and cut back. Of course, My question also, with Barcelona being on the water, was that before, when they were just thrown in the street, would they wash into the ocean basically, or how
Hmm.
would that, where would they end up? Or does it, because of the tangles, does it get stuck in the sewer system?
I don't really know, because they basically disappear. Uh, I suppose that most of them were thrown on the bins or garbage bins, but yeah, if they're thrown away just as littering, um, yes, then yes, they would go through the sewage system, and yeah, I suppose somewhere they are. But this is small. Yeah, you're right. You're right that there might be also a problem, or even reaching the ocean. Why not? Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
It, it's yeah, it's really a problem. The good thing is that here it rains not a lot, so there might be more chances for the garbage men to recover them, to brush them. But yeah, well, it's a problem of also of a perception of littering, and it's of this obscenity of throwing valuable resources, because I don't want to use them anymore. I've used them for 1 hour and then don't use them anymore, or I will get another one when I drop in. It's just obscene. We cannot live like that anymore, because we don't have resources really. Our resources will be very expensive. Um, so we have to preserve resources once they are in the economy.
No, exactly. And of course, this is just one example, but it's so drastically visible because it's used for such a short amount of time. I mean,
Yeah.
you're on the bus for maybe a half hour, maybe an hour, and then
Mhm.
you throw it away. And that's, of course, you can say the same about, like we talked earlier, you mentioned the plastic bottles they used for a short time, or straw or cup. But of course, they're only plastic. They don't contain electronics as well. And so here you have this complex product that's more, also more of an environmental hazard. And it's also in a way richer, right? Because it's actually more quality or more value goes into it in the beginning. I want to ask before we end, and if if it's required, we can also come back to the example. But you also work on different products, different examples of circular economy, and I don't know how much of it you can actually talk about publicly here.
Mhm.
What you can reveal. Maybe there's something where you can't say the names you work for, but maybe it's also interesting to hear about what other projects you're currently working on. You mentioned earlier you have what, 18 projects running currently? Was
Mhm.
that number? You don't have to explain every of the 18, but if you want to explain or say something about one or two of the other projects
Mhm.
um, that is maybe currently engaging and challenging, that would be interesting too. Especially if they relate also, of course, to either current discussion in environmental policy, or in climate, or in resource policy, or if they're just interesting to you personally, where you think, oh, that's a really great project.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Sure. Um, Talking about the circular economy is talking about many different things, because it's like an umbrella concept, no, that hosts a lot of different strategies and types of projects. What we do, I will explain three different types of projects that we are now working on. The first one, maybe the more basic for us, is based with the carbon strategies. So working with companies that want to reduce their emissions, that are implementing projects that might be under the framework of the circular economy. So being conservative in the use of resources, improving the design of their packaging, shifting from sources of energy from fossil to renewable, etc. But what they want to achieve is a target on reducing their emissions, their carbon emissions. And so, for instance, we're working with wineries that are very committed with the fight against climate change, in part because they are directly affected by climate change. Wineries depend on grapes, and on the agriculture, and a change on the climate makes their productivity higher or lower. In our case, in our latitude, it's lower. So it's worrying for them, and they're buying parcels and land up in the north, in the Pyrenees, because they expect them to be more productive in the future. So it's really challenging for the sector. So we assess the carbon footprint of a large winery that operates here in Europe, but also in California and in Chile. And we realized that 85% of their carbon emissions are not directly linked with their own operations, but with their suppliers' operations, with the bottles, with the labels, with the alcohol, whatever. So now we are working in this type of project where we assess one company, but at the end we end working with all the supply chain, with the cork stoppers, with the bottle, glass water, jet manufacturers, etc., to reduce the carbon emissions of the whole supply chain. So this is a shift. When we work with a circular economy perspective or with a climate change perspective, we need to work with a life cycle perspective or life cycle vision, in a life cycle thinking way, including all the agents in the supply chain. No? This is a type of projects. Then now in Europe, there's a lot of legal pressure being put, and will be even more in the future, with single-use plastic packaging. The European Parliament has issued directives and recommendations to the different EU members regarding this topic. This is now starting, but everybody perceives that the pressure will be increasing. So especially the agri-food sector uses lots of single-use plastic packaging. And they are threatened, they are under pressure due to this legislation. For instance, we are working with very large multinationals that need to change 35% of their portfolio, of their packaging. This is a large investment. And now we are working with different companies, also helping them to eliminate plastic from their packaging, or making them 100% recyclable, which is another way to commit, to fulfill the legal requirements. So avoiding mixing different types of plastics, or being 100% monomaterial, making them more easily to recycle, etc. This is now a topic here. And maybe the third type of projects would be related with the strategy. And here we're working, for instance, with the automotive sector, that is not only here in Barcelona or Catalonia, but in things throughout Europe, that the automotive sector is shifting from selling vehicles, from selling units of cars, to sell services, mobility services. And you might say, what's this? So instead of selling a car, you rent it, or you have a leasing. which is quite common in the companies. So having companies don't buy the fleet of cars or trucks. They normally have a leasing, but this is coming also to the final consumers. This system will come. Also, car sharing companies are being implemented or developed directly by the large car manufacturers, such as the Volkswagen Group, the Daimler, etc. You know? So, and they are buying new startups for doing carpooling or for offering mobility service to the end users. This doesn't mean that they won't sell any more cars. Of course, they will keep selling cars, but if the sellings increase 3% per year, they know that the mobility services will increase 20-30% per year. So it's a smaller business at the moment, but that will grow a lot, especially among young people in big cities, because owning a car in a big city is expensive and is inconvenient. It takes time. You don't know where to park. At the end, you have to pay. It's polluting. At the there are more and more restrictions to use the car in the city center. So at the end, is a huge problem owning a car in a big city, and young people don't want or can't afford to buy a car. So systems of car sharing will grow a lot, and they want to be in the pole position for that. But what is relevant for the circular economy, and I will link this with the circular economy, is that car manufacturers, instead of selling cars, will keep the ownership of the product, of the vehicle. They have a fleet of vehicles doing or providing service to the users, but they will be their own cars. So the design of those cars will be radically different, because the manufacturer will be able to recover them whenever they want, recover the components and reuse them in another vehicle. They can design for durability because it's their own car. So if it lasts a lot, if they don't need to do maintenance, it's better for them. So the more time this car is working, operating without any intervention, it's business. It's good for business. So some stimulus are put on the right side of the equation. So durability, maintenance, reparation will be part of the business instead of going against the business. That is what happens in a linear economy.
That's very exciting as an idea, though. I mean, I'm not promoting cars at all in general, but I'm just saying if you do have a car, I mean, currently the incentive is more, okay, they call it like built-in obsolescence, or where it kind of breaks at some point. So you want the car actually to only last a certain number of years or miles or kilometers. And then because you want to sell a new car, right? But if this changes, this would, of course, drastically change, because technically, of course, cars can last 20 years, 30 years.
Yep.
But then also, of course, we have other questions. And this applies not only to cars, I guess, this can go to other products as well. And my question, though, and this might be difficult for you to answer because it's a very broad question, but because we talk about circular economy and we talk about resources, but we also talked a little bit about climate action and climate change mitigation. And since you do a lot of these life cycle assessments and comparing the impacts of new product design or new process design, is your impression, is it always a win-win? Do we always have, when we go for more circular economy, do we always also protect the climate? Or are there cases where it's counterproductive?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good question. I would say, generally speaking, it's good for the environment, or it reduces emissions. But it's true that the circular economy needs energy, um, and we talk a lot about materials and resources, how to keep resources in the economy instead of throwing them away. But for closing loops, we need energy. And if the circular economy is fueled with fossil fuels, then we do nothing. We cannot fuel a new system with fossil fuels, because we will emit, we'll have emissions, but at the end also won't be feasible at the midterm. So I think that those are two races at the same time. So the circular economy and the renewable energy that have to rise or to grow in parallel. One needs the other. Um, we cannot fulfill all the needs or all the energy needs with renewables if the economy keeps growing, because it's impossible to feed all this demand, or it's very difficult. But at the same time, it's not possible to be more conservative, or to introduce more logistics, etc. More if we are using fossil fuels. So yeah, there are two sides of the same coin, no? That have to be together, and we cannot forget um, from each other, no? Yeah, this is key. But normally speaking, when we work on eco design of products, what we do is being more efficient with the use of raw materials, more efficient with the use of energy, optimizing logistics, reducing the amount of packaging. So normally those solutions are eco-efficient. So they are good for the environment and good for the pocket.
Well, that's a very good point in the end too. The financial, the cost side, and you mentioned that it's of course a factor in your example with the headphones. And when you said, okay, 4 million headphones they buy every 2 years, and it costs them 500,000 euros. And of course, I mean that's maybe not that much money overall spread
Mhm.
over 2 years, but for one-time cost, that's pretty high.
Yep.
And so it's a major purchase. It's not a small amount.
Mm.
And so for them, if you can save on that, it's actually significant. And also, of course, an incentive if they can even save money while being more green. So that's really, of
Yes,
course,
yes.
crucial. Yeah.
And but for this, uh, we have a lot of to improve. In the purchase systems, especially in the public purchase systems, that still don't include the concept of the total cost of ownership. Um, this is a barrier for the circular economy, because we might have cheaper systems for a single purchase. But if you look at the long term, you have maybe it's more expensive. And this is something that we have understood very well as the final consumers, for instance, with the electronic appliances, where we can see perfectly when we buy a dishwasher or a washing machine or a refrigerator, a fridge, that we have the labels A, B, C, D, and then we understand that we pay a bit more for a more efficient appliance, because in the long run we will save money. We understand that, and we are willing to pay more in the purchase. But the purchase systems in the public administration are still very rigid, and and maybe because of the still of the effects of the crisis, uh, they are buying the cheapest offer, or the cheapest offer has a lot of weight, or a lot of points and in the contract, and they win basically. So cheapest wins, and this is at the end is more expensive for the economy and for the environment.
You're right. You're so right. In the end, we will pay for it,
Yeah.
but you don't see this cost right away. So getting close to 55 minutes, and we want to keep it under an hour. So I would suggest that we close it here. But I do think you do such an amount of interesting work. We should definitely do that again. We should also, of course, all go to Barcelona and visit us, and maybe ride on this bus, and maybe we can figure out whether we have a recycled headphone or whether it's a new one. This is now, if anybody can figure this out, we can say they can win something. I don't know what they will win, but something. And of course, you can meet Jordi when you go to Barcelona, so that's a great plus. And otherwise, if you go to Washington D.C., you can meet me. And of course, Jordi, I hope we can bring you back over to the United States sometime soon, and introduce you to more people there. I want to thank you so much for making time to talk to us today, for also, because it's already your evening, for cutting this out of your afternoon, evening time. And I hope this was fun for you as well. I want to say already, we're getting close to the holiday season, so I hope you have a great holiday season, great end of the year. And of course, I have to say this year, we'll have one more webinar this year coming up on December 19th. So it's even closer to the holidays. And this will be about air quality in cities. So very related to the buses, but also a lot more to the cars. And this will be by a German, Dorothee Saar from the Deutsche Umwelthilfe, and she will talk about their fight against air pollution in cities. So, Jordi, if you're interested in that, you can join in that as well.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's December 19th, and I'll be happy to send you an invitation as well. I thank you for joining, and hope to be in touch soon again, and have a great rest of your day or evening or morning, depending on where you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And well, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, Jordi. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.